Once again, the team in Palawan, Pai and Ituli. They're from Maya Earth Village. It's an eco village in Palawan. It's actually my home when I'm there. I have a kubo there. I stay with them. I don't stay in a hotel every time I'm in Palawan. I don't remember staying in a hotel every time I go to Palawan. I always stay there. And we are happy to host the Dreamwell health program, which they will be sharing more about it today and tonight. I think this is just a launch of the Dreamwell health program, and more of their teammates will be coming here starting May, and some of the in-house programs, retreats might also be done in the Wellnessland Homeless Fund, which is 1 hour away from here. So I've known them for quite a while, especially this guy. So
13 years.
13 years. And we've been joining together in that search for what is authentic healing all about, or what are the parameters, or what makes healing, what makes authentic healing happen spontaneously. And as a medical doctor, I'm very open to that idea, because every now and then we see such cases that even my logical understanding cannot grasp. But I have seen it in my own eyes that there are many ways to healing actually, and that's why we've been working with them for quite some time. We even have a book together, the Transformation Medicine, Pathways to Becoming Your Own Best Doctor. So their work in Palawan is very wonderful, because I go there every now and then, and now they are bringing it, they continue to bring it to the world, and we are happy that right now they are here. And they will be here for only 2 nights. We have another session tomorrow, and I'm here again also to learn, because I am a perpetual student. So take it away, Ituli.
Thank you, Doc, for inviting us. Good evening. How do you say good evening in Cebuano?
Maayong gabi.
Maayong gabi.
Maayong gabi.
Maayong gabi.
Maayong gabi.
Maayong gabi. Okay. Tomorrow it's my fluent. So yes, my name is Ituli, and living in Palawan. Trying to learn Tagalog, not yet, konti lang, slowly with our local villagers. So right now in English. I will give a really short introduction, maybe from a global perspective, what our work is about, and where did it start, and how I got involved with it, and then kind of what's happening globally around us. How many of you have heard anything about inner dance, or the work that okay. So we'll open up a little bit like why we are here right now, where did things started, and what's kind of in the future, what do we see through our work and vision. I've been journeying so next week 40 years on this body, on this planet, and around 9 years ago I used to work in like in a city, Helsinki, which is similar size than Cebu. 1 million to 2 million people, urban but quite nature-like place. Worked 12 years in an NGO world as a producer. I worked with children's rights organizations, so a lot of big global projects, arts management, did a lot of work with festivals, organizing TV shows, events, and advocacy work with like a children's rights theme and around those projects. And yeah, I had a sideline studies, work all my life as a therapist. First, like more from massage therapy to I was a yoga teacher, I worked a lot with children, with dance. So I was always kind of other leg or hand in the healing world and interested in studying a lot. And then 9 years ago, I got introduced to a workshop or a session called Inner Dance by an English facilitator. And what basically happened in that session was that music was played, I laid down, and then she didn't give any guidance or said, she just said like, explore, see what happens. And until that, my learning with healing modalities and work with the body and health was much related to like strict guidelines or rules, or this how you should eat and this what you should do. And in that session, I felt first time something I could name as energy, or things that are moving inside. And it started a process in my life where I went to study it in Bali. And then I got tapped into a very kind of global study network that meant that if I studied to London or I went to UK, I just wrote into the study network, like, is there anyone doing this inner dance in England? And there was always someone already 9 years ago somewhere around the world conducting the work. So it was really interesting, kind of a healing energy movement in the world. And the origins of that started here in the Philippines through Hai's, actually like a very personal journey, which is interesting. He's also wrote something about his own process in his first book. And then it was already very global when I got introduced to it. So many countries had some inner dance happening. So he can introduce his own process with it, but from kind of what it showed me, that one person goes through a very significant internal process and suddenly it spreads all around the world. It's kind of crazy that can happen as a phenomena. Those early years, inner dance started from the Philippines and from his journey and work and studies and research around it. But then that was maybe 15 years ago. 17 years ago, 18 years ago. So I came in the halfway, and still it was quite much like, how would I say, self-healing modality, not a modality, but like a space for self-healing and a movement for finding answers inside and finding, like, trusting that the body itself can actually heal itself and things can align and happen inside. And that was very new to my world, because I was very used to teachers and my mother was a therapist. So there was always someone from outside. When I had a knee problem, someone from outside like tried to fix it. If I got sick, some pill was there or something was outside. But through this work, it was incredible that things started to happen globally. Big shifts in healing and transformation from people independently from inside. So in my life, that was totally new. I didn't understand it, so I really had to start to kind of search information and knowledge and studies. So from that 9 years ago, I could just jump into the moment I realized that I wanted to come to Philippines to study more. That was 5 years ago. I went to Palawan, I went to Maya, which is the eco-village, earth village that I started. We met there. We also realized, okay, we're supposed to be a family and a team. So we are married now and I'm happily living here. Very opposite culture from my own. Literally out like opposite side of the world. So what was my process with it? And when I came, we live in the nature. We didn't have doors or walls. We live on top of a mountain. We have to hike up. And the nature in Palawan really gave me like the first kind of, how would I say, opening to look what could be, to be more balanced, because I'm from a city, so what could be more like a balanced way, being in harmony, or also like connecting with nature, and then quite hard study how to survive even in a tropical climate for a Finnish body. But a lot of shifts happened the last 5 years where the work, which kind of could be more seen first as an energy process or healing modality or transformation work. So we work with sound and music, it's a big element. And Pi has been conducting, and globally people are doing playlists. So we work with sound in the space, and then through that sound people are able to tap into that self-healing process. So the last, I would say, 3 to 4 years have had a huge shift in the work, which has been more like slowly through the research and studies. There's actually science hand in hand coming with the transformation or healing work. And nowadays, what we do and where we work and in the global community, there's a lot of work with children. So we work with schools, many countries. There is work with addiction clinics in South Africa. There is a project starting or planning in the US, in Colombia. We work with jails. So there's been over 1.5 years in Manila City Jail, a process where they go into the sound journey and then they do painting. It's with local artists, Filipino artists and inner dance facilitators there. We work with psychiatric systems, with doctors. So suddenly something that wasn't so explained in the early years have started to tap with the science, and very different areas of society has started to be able to integrate and use this type of process and work. The results are mind-blowing. That's why we are also in a moment this year where research starts to happen. There's a girl in Finland doing a PhD in the university around the work. There's a lot of research through the doctors. That is also now the aim in Cebu, to start actually collecting results. But maybe point being that something that can be very big, like transformation or a healing process, when it starts to have languaging and understanding in science, it can actually be implemented to the society. And these are the years that it has been starting to kind of show it all around the world. And the seed has still come from the Philippines, and through the work here in the last 18 years, it has spread into a very interesting, very exciting, kind of cross-integrated science-based work. So yeah, we're living it. We're working in Batungan in Palawan with the local high school. We work a lot of also with ecological projects. So we're building a classroom, a school from plastic waste, mud, and bottles from the villages. So the children are collecting the plastic waste from the beaches, and we're doing a classroom for MAPE, which is music, arts, and physical health and science class. And then the children go into the work with the sound also. So it's more like a psychological work also with the kids. A lot of community projects around. In our own life, in our surroundings, but then a lot of projects globally happening right now. So we are in that wave. First time ever in Cebu. For me, today, we flew today. I'm very excited to see also like a Filipino big urban city, but then seeing what could be the seeds and the sprouts and how this work has been here also a long time. Yeah. That would be my intro. Happy to be here, and then, yeah, happy to talk afterwards also if anyone has anything to wonder.
Thank you. Yeah, Italy has really been amazing in helping to ground a lot of the work. So my name is Pai. I'm basically usually known as a healer. I've been doing this work for 18 years. When I came out with this, the story came out in the Inquirer, in the Star, in television. People wanted to explain what it was. Right now, there are probably practitioners in almost every country in the world. And it's hard to understand how the Filipino spirit can actually heal like so many parts and aspects of the world. So I'm wanting to come back to my own culture, to work within the system primarily because I feel that there's a lot of insight to who we are. I think to work within the Filipino structure, science and spirit is lacking like a meeting point. Very often, the left and the right hemisphere of the brain is fighting, and something's happening in the world. There's a lot of crises, but I think at the same time, we're opening up and we're starting to ask really deep questions as to what is the meaning of all this, what is the point. So I'm a believer in the culture. First and foremost, I believe that we have gifts, we have like genius, we have brilliance, but it's not always easy to tap into or to pinpoint. So people I've been working with, like Doc Romy, Tony, Mahitosh, you were there in the beginning. Like for me, Wellnessland is home. This is actually one of the areas in the world where the work got seeded. It's really valuable work. It can change people's lives. There are people whom I have trained whom have become gazillionaires. You know, like a training in the modality now can cost as much as $8,000 per person, 30 people at a time. For me, it's not about that. It's like the heart, the essence. So I'm wanting to go back to what is it that is innate in us. So me and Doc Mami, one of the reasons why we work together is we want to see what would happen if there was a conversation between a healer and a doctor. You travel to Europe, places in the US, something strange is actually happening where a lot of doctors are sometimes giving up their practice because there's some discontent as to the lack of efficacy of allopathic medicine. And there are people who attend very short healing courses who are actually having more effects sometimes than the doctors who are studying for such a long period of time. I don't want to give up on medicine. I feel that there's so much that medicine can offer us, but at the same time, there's a lack of heart, which is who we are. So what is the heart? You know? So I feel that because all these years we've been going through so many deep experiences, we may actually start to understand what many people might call magic or the unknown. And this is a hard year for me. Like the work has expanded so much so that there are scientists actually studying what we had discovered. There are research projects erupting in Europe, in the Americas. Like a few weeks ago, I was talking to the National Health Institute of Singapore, one of the strictest health systems on the planet. I just got an email yesterday from a top, super published neuroscientist in Canada, and they're proposing, can we study this now? Because it's rather important. So what I discovered used to be called energy, but it has something to do with the brain. I want to thank you for coming because I want to explore or research with you what is the brain? What's the Cebuano for utak? Utok. What is the utok? That doesn't sound so good. Utok. What is the utok? You know, it's known to be the most complex thing in the universe. You probably have about 60 billion neurons. When you were born, you had 100 billion. It's not even about that. Each neuron has about 10,000 possible connections. So there are more connections in your brain than there are stars in the galaxy. You're complicated. You're not simple. And I feel that we are possibly tapping into an intuition where maybe we're coming to know that complexity. And it's not going to be through logic. It's going to be through feeling. It's going to be through an experience sometimes. But I do believe that we can still do it. Spirit, what people call spirit and soul, can also translate to intelligence. And I believe that the Filipino actually has that. But we need to activate that which is sleeping. And I believe that the answer to this has something to do with dreaming. For me, dreaming, what's the Cebuano for panaginip?
Damgo.
Damgo. Okay. For me, damgo could be understood from a figurative sense. Meaning it's a beautiful concept. Like, what is your dream? And did you, at one point, lose it? But I tend to be practical. I want to be concrete. So I have been researching on how does dreaming actually happen from a biological level. So I started a modality that is spread across the earth, which had healed people sometimes almost automatically. I've seen cancer, I've seen blindness, I've seen all kinds of problems go away, just like that. But I'm not here to look for the magic bullet or the magic pill. We've been in conversation because our question was, okay, Dr. P, Pi, why do some people heal and why do some people not? What are the conditions by which the magic thing happens? And for many people, no matter what they do, it could be chemotherapy, surgery, it could be so much yoga, so much exercise, raw food, it still doesn't work. Some people could be eating the worst food there is, but they would heal. Maybe even spontaneously. Some people could be spending so much money and wala pa rin. So I'm not considering myself a healer anymore. I'm more interested in what are the conditions by which healing happens on its own. So I've been making some discoveries the last years that I find really exciting. When I studied our main technology in explaining why is the healing process happening. Okay, so this is our work site globally. In our courses, this is where I keep some of the presentations that we use when we do our Zoom calls. A bunch of lines to you. But what I want to share with you is this is the technology of dreaming. This is how dreaming happens. So what I accidentally stumbled upon was, number one, it's okay. Yeah, I discovered that there was a way in which people can dream while awake. It's a weird concept. Like, how can you damgo while you are awake? Mata? Is that it? Mata. Cebuano tag English. Let me give you an example. I wasn't planning on showing like a sample video. What it could look like. Maybe let me pull out like one of the old videos of what we would do in our trainings. Okay, make a mistake.
That's old school.
That's old, yeah, 2013. Basically, the story is a little bit strange. I lived on an island for 2 years alone on a coconut diet. Okay, I was Robinson Crusoe. I was the Tom Hanks guy in the movie. I was the one who did it. And I discovered that inside me was the universe. And the whole thing spread because when I started to touch people's bodies, they started to go into these strange movements. They would go into past lives. They would go back to their mother's womb. They would start to travel through the cosmos without riding a spaceship. I'm not here to talk about that today. I want to just present that was the initial backdrop. that now becomes a scientific modality. But this is what it sort of looked like.
Yeah, definitely a breakthrough.
When I lie down on the floor, then
It's like, it might look weird when you're looking at it, but from the point of view of experience, it's the body becoming an energy. And it's not you anymore. Tony can understand this because he stopped being Tony, and then he just.
the base of my spine was like a thread, and it was white, and I could breathe it out. And it was very strong energy around the shoulder blades. And I felt that energy grew, and eventually it came up into my head, and I just really enjoyed it at that point. So really happy actually, and then I love it, and that's everything is good, and it's so nice, and it's so great to be here.
You always ask this question, like, why are you here? And now I know why I'm here. I'm here for letting go. And one thing that's really important for me is living from the heart and sharing. And in this inner dance, I even gave my heart away, and it was painful, but also really super. I can understand. I can't describe it. Like you're nothing, but then again you're not nothing. So but you're really throwing yourself on the ground to this higher energy. So this was really strong. This ego you have, you really throw it away, or it's more like giving away. But it's not pain, but it's a kind of pain. And afterwards you feel really free. So I'm actually now crying, but I feel really happy.
The movement is associated with your life experience, and suddenly I see flashes of my childhood. So now I
I don't
realize
even remember you in this
still
video.
there, all these things that I have suppressed. The flow started from the base, and I can literally see how it flowed all over my body all the way up. I can call the feeling thinking of food salad while riding a roller coaster. Literally. I felt like I was about to burst, and the release was there. I cried a lot because I felt so happy. And
Okay, so that's an example video of what it looked like anyway, like so long ago. Now, right now, the manifestation doesn't necessarily look like that in our work. People's bodies don't move anymore so much, but it's more that they start to see the hologram. And you can actually explore your whole history in an hour. You can see everything happened for a reason and how everything is connected. So we learn to contain it. So that's where it started, and for many years that's what it looked like. Now I conduct a lot of trainings globally. Like almost every night, I'm actually awake at 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm doing a Zoom class in Barcelona, in Madrid, just to teach people how does it work, like how does the brain work. Now, I was conducting a training 2 years ago, only for 2 people. It was basically for 2 doctors from Germany. They're Hungarian, but they were living in Germany. Romanian. And they were in Palawan, and this is the point of the talk. Let's go to the topic, okay? I want to understand this with you. So, while I was giving this training, I received an email from a friend of mine from London. And she basically just came, we met her in a training that we did in Turkey. In the outskirts of Turkey. So we just got back to Palawan, where we were rebuilding the whole eco-village that was destroyed by Typhoon Odette. Everything was a shambles, it was really in ruins. So my friend's problem was this. Parang, I have a nephew, he's 7 years old. And she listed all the problems, like a whole litany of problems. Like, okay, he's sick, he's emotionally like this. It was like a whole list. So using this technology, whereby I understand the wave I understand the wave of the brain that goes into REM state. Now, dreaming happens mostly in a sleep stage called REM. A lot of you probably know that, no? You probably during the whole night go into REM state about 15 to 25% of the time. Now, why is REM state important? When you are dreaming while you're sleeping, it's not just the images that appear. That's when immunity goes up. That's when metabolic rate goes up. That's when HRV or heart rate variability goes up. That's when the endocrine system becomes turbocharged. So if you have either an emotional problem or a mental problem or a physical problem, that's when it goes away. That's when it's resolved. The main problem is when people live in large cities, when we go into modern lifestyles, when we're exposed to laptops, internets, Netflixes, and so on and so forth. REM actually gets minimized. It is pushed farther and farther away into the night so that we get stressed, and that's where disease patterns start to show up. So my entry point was I discovered how to activate REM state while people are awake. So it took me a long time to theorize that what happens if I actually expose people to the same conditions while they're sleeping. Do you understand where this is going? In the past, I would conduct 60-minute to 90-minute workshops where people would access their spiritual self from whatever conditions are there. But because my technology was actually mimicking through what's called brainwave entrainment, I would use music to utilize about 5 or 6 brainwave activities. I found a connection between music and the brain that had not been found out by science in the past. That's why this is research. Because the techniques that we had discovered in the Philippines was not tried out in laboratories in the past. While people were awake. So this is what I did. When I got the email from my friend, this is urgent, my son, my nephew needs help. I opened the program in my laptop. I may as well show you what the program looks like. It's a Logic Pro, which is available on Mac OS. I've been studying music production for a long time. And I wanted to apply the technology in a way that doesn't need healers. I basically understand how electricity flows in the body, and I can explain it to you tonight. So 15 minutes, I literally just put several sounds together. I created a 3-hour system, and then I emailed it to London, and then I just forgot about it. And then a week later, the boy is basically the son of a famous neurosurgeon in the UK. They didn't know what to do. There was no solution. The mother is a well-known coach for companies. She's supposed to understand how mental health works. They couldn't do anything. They hired all these experts, and there was no solution. So all I did was I emailed this thing, and then I received an email from Lisa a week later, and she said, "What did you do?" And then she said, "This is what's starting to happen. The child, what was it that happened?"
He was kind of in the edge of like Asperger or children with like super sensitive and having a lot of symptoms. He had never felt empathy. He couldn't focus at school. He was always peeing in the night in the bed. So slowly, like week by week, the mother started to write what's happening. The teachers started to comment after 1 week, like what's happened to this child. Suddenly he can study and he can focus. Then he stopped peeing in the night times. He came, they were watching a documentary about, like a nature documentary with the family. And then he started crying and he went to hug the mom and say, "I love this earth." And he was first time ever showing like empathic feelings because his brain didn't function in that way that actually could feel empathy. So the parents who had tried everything because he was in a special education already. Like they were, and the thing that he was doing, they were listening to the playlist. So every night when he went to sleep, they put the playlist on, and he went to sleep, and that's it. That's all that they did. And then the symptoms that his symptoms, disorders, like Western world thinks this is a problem, but actually the child is probably okay. But in a society or school where he's supposed to function in a certain way, he couldn't function. So slowly he could actually function in the system. And yeah, it was a long 2-3 months. They reported every week like what's happening with him, and it was pretty incredible.
It was incredible when Lisa started to share the playlist to other parents. And then it started to, people without any context of the work that we had done, it basically sounds like noise. When you listen to it, it sounds like noise, but the children, there were so many children that started to heal automatically. So we knew there's something important about this. So you remember, like I had these Romanian doctors in Palawan. When they went home, the mother emailed me as soon as she got back. She said, my mother was diagnosed with a brain tumor, and it's that big. So then she said, she didn't know about what was happening with the little boy. She said, can you help me? So I did the same thing. I went to the studio, and I spent 2 days sitting down, constructing like sound as medicine, send it over to Germany. No, she flew to Romania, and the mother just listened, the grandmother, I think 79 or 82, listened to it every single day. And the tumor kept shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. In a matter of 2 weeks, the tumor was gone. So I want you to understand the power of the body. There's something about the brain that manages electricity and magnetism. And I want to share with you certain concepts about what's called the autonomic nervous system and the circadian rhythms. And I hope that you're okay with some scientific explanations, because you might walk away today knowing a little bit more about what is your rhythm. How do you find your natural rhythm? And if you wanted to take this further, we're launching this program as part of a research process that we would like to begin in the Philippines that we hope can spread, because there's so many programs, research-based programs, already sprouting across the world. We want to bring it back to where it actually started. So we want to partner with anyone who's interested in this. As you well know, the Philippines is the call center capital of the world, arguably, next to India or right there. And how many people are experiencing sleep deprivation and then showing up in clinics like Wellnessland? Wellnessland is not our only partner. We're partnered with 2 top health institutes also in Manila, where there are heroic, weird people like Doc Romy who are changing the landscape of medicine. And after Cebu, we're going to be doing the same presentations there, because there's a lot of call centers in Cebu, in Davao, in Puerto Princesa where we live, in Manila. And I don't think people understand what happens to the body when we destroy the rhythm. So who here is experiencing some sleep deprivation, insomnia, difficulty going to bed? And sometimes that could be work-related, that could be something's happening, no? Like that may not have been as present or pervasive many years ago. So this has relevance to the young people and the old people and everyone in between. So we want to work with you. I want to work with the Filipinos. And we want to gather data, basically. We want to run some formal programs that's research-based. Any questions so far? Do you find this interesting at least? I think we're on to something, no? So we have been experimenting with a sleep playlist system for quite a while now. I've been collating, let's say, feedbacks from people all around the world. And I only started, I literally only started like a couple of months ago. Ito masyado mahaba. I'm trying to look for something short. So this kid whose OCD is listening non-stop to the playlist called Home because he says it calms him so much. Normally, this woman has only 1.5 hours of REM. Last night I used the playlist, my HRV went up. My breathing pattern went seriously down the first time I see my REM state time going up. Tonight on your latest play, a woman who survived cancer last year is going through the dark night of soul, was during the whole time in the womb. I sent her last week the playlist and she cried because she can finally sleep again. She said she never experienced calmness during an experience and even when blah 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 blah. So I just have these. I have like these documents. That's number 1. This is like number 2. A lot is from Belgium. This is from Fabian from Argentina. I'm listening to it more or less 3 times a week. I have strange dreams. Neither bad or good or strange. I can say it gives me strength and vitality for the day. So I can share these with you. If you're interested, leave your information somehow. Maybe you should be prepared for that. And then we can send you documents of some of the research that has been happening. We did one in South Africa last year, and there's a 130-page report on the before and after on an addiction clinic in Cape Town where the technology was used, and just amazing how REM state, positivity, well-being, it all shot through the roof. People couldn't believe it. So I know probably a lot of you are yearning sleep. Like, who doesn't love good sleep? I like sleep, but I don't actually sleep that much. For people who know me, literally my meetings are at 1 o'clock in the morning, so I have to wake up at 12 midnight just to prepare. And I usually sleep at 9 o'clock in the evening. Very often I don't sleep anymore. I might nap a little bit during the day. I don't actually need that much sleep. Do you know why? Why do you sleep? The only reason why you sleep is to go to REM state. REM state, biologically, is just as important as water and food. If you don't experience REM, you're gonna die. Literally, death will occur. REM is where the brain waves, the endocrine system balances out. And when you lose that balance, that's when deterioration starts to occur. So, strangely enough, when you do study the, let's say the brain, no, not this, wrong. Sakto. Here's your brain wave when you're awake. And then when you go to the stages of sleep, REM, non-REM 1 and 2 and 3, going into REM, the strange thing about wake and sleep is you actually look like you're awake when you're dreaming. Your brain literally registers as if it was awake. It's even more awake when you're in REM as compared to when you're at the office, when you're taking care of the children. But it's the optimal brain state. It may not make sense to you at this point, but we can draw out how these are actually combinations of multiple waves. You can try to absorb what you can today, or you can study this in the long term. We can help you if you want to not just use this for yourself. Our goal is actually not just to allow people to self-heal. We're interested in people learning to apply this, so if you want to heal others, if you want to learn to facilitate, do you want to get people to dream again, then this could be the opening, this could be the way. But syempre, you start with yourself. You get interested in that, get curious. Where was I prior to this? Okay, so I went into the feedbacks anyway, that it seems to be working. Now, I don't want to simplify this as just letting people listen to noise, certain kinds of noise that's systematized while they're sleeping. There's going to be more. I think it's not enough to look for an easy way to heal. I think this would work if you actually understood what was happening in us today. Now, here's maybe an easy introduction. Wait, let's go to this one. What did we initially discover? So this is the spine. We're looking at the spinal cord. Who here has heard of the autonomic nervous system? So the autonomic nervous system is the part of your nervous system that you cannot control. But that's the one that's in control. Can you control your own heartbeat? Can you control your digestion? Can you control your breathing beyond a certain duration? You can't do that the whole day, no? Can you control your sleep-wake cycle? Can you control your reproductive system? For women out there, you can't just say, okay, I don't really want to have my period today. I have an important meeting. You can't control that. So the autonomic nervous system controls all of that complexity that we spoke about. Remember, like how many neurons you have, how many cells do you have? You have trillions of cells. So walking through La Hogue or SM Cebu, already that's quite a complex task. Something has to be controlling it, and that's the autonomic nervous system. Now, the work that we have uncovered is about finding out how you can actually control what is controlling you. And what we found out is the single thing that activates it the most out of all stimulus in the world, beyond food, drugs, and beverages, is sound. There's a part of the brain that's very, very sensitive to music and sound and noise and words that we hear. And there are usually two main reactions or response mechanisms. Okay, I see someone I don't like. Can you control your heartbeat? Your heart rate will increase. You see, let's say you drink something relaxing like chamomile tea. Anyone drinks alcohol, the heart rate would slow down because you're taking a depressant as opposed to a stimulant. So you can see the reactions of the body. The heartbeat starts to increase, the brain waves start to spike up, and next thing you know, you're afraid, you're scared, and you don't have control over that. Let's say you see something scary on the television, or someone holds you at gunpoint, someone threatens you. What can you not control? You can't control your heart. So what's happening in the world right now is people lost control of their heart because of lifestyle, because of programming, because of addictions. We lost control of our heart. Now, with the technology that we're explaining, if you can control your heart, you can control your brain waves, you don't actually need a lot of medicines that are isolating, healing possibilities that's not natural. If you can find the central regulatory system that manages all the other systems, that's quite powerful. It's free. You don't have to pay for it. It's already inside you. You don't need to buy it. You don't need to eat it. You don't need to ingest it. It doesn't poison you. It doesn't kill you. So you need to understand two things: circuitry, electricity, brain waves, and number two, chemistry. Diba? What are the chemistries that lead you to activate, to stimulate? It would be the stress hormone, cortisol. It would be adrenaline. You know, like, or what relaxes you, what can lower the activity. It would be melatonin, serotonin. So what we have realized, and especially when we program things like these, we know how to control now the circuitry and the chemistry of the body according to the biological clock, according to the circadian rhythms. You know what the circadian rhythms is? It's a 24-hour rhythm. Merong ano yan may clock yun there's a certain time of the day where cortisol is supposed to go up and melatonin should go down. Do you know what melatonin is?
Sleep hormone.
It's a sleep hormone, so that the pineal gland, which ancient people used to call the third eye, it's actually spiritual in the sense that it sends you into the dream. Now, the pineal gland is very sensitive to light. So as soon as there's an absence of light, you release melatonin, and then you would be sent off closer to REM state. So you can imagine with the call centers, for one, you're working at 3 o'clock in the morning. I know call center agents, they're drinking beer at 7 o'clock in the morning because that's till 9 p.m. Is that okay? I'm not going to be judgmental. I think we can actually work within those systems so that the damage doesn't need to be so drastic if we understood quick and powerful ways to bring the healing system in place. Now, firstly, like the technology has something to do with the autonomic nervous system. I'm only bringing up the spine because you have the outflows of the autonomic nervous system coming from there. Now, fear, this is one of the reasons why we're working together. When he did come to me, one of the requests he said is, I have like a lot of medicines, but there's one medicine I don't have. It's a medicine for anxiety. When people walk into my office, they're anxious, they don't want to die, they're sick, they want to heal, they're in pain. I don't have a cure for fear. You know, I can try to talk to people, but when they go home, it's there. It's the emotion is there. I don't know how to heal it. Now, because emotion has a biological counterpart, I want to ask you, where's fear hiding in the body? There's an actual region, and it's here. It's from thoracic 1, T1 to L2. It's in the thoracolumbar region. Now, what's the opposite of fear? Takot. What's takot in Cebuano? Hadlok. What's the opposite of hadlok in Cebuano?
Brave.
Yeah, peace, trust, calmness. There's a region in the body, and do you know where that is? It's actually at the back of the neck. That's called the cranium, and at the bottom, that's called the sacrum. So the autonomic nervous system has the two parts. Takot is here, and healing, relaxation is here and here. So it's very rare that people experience both at the same time. Here's the key, here's the magic. That's why that whole inner dance and healing process is working. We found out through techniques in music, touch, words, and other tools, we can actually activate the entire autonomic nervous system all at the same time. And when you're able to do that, magic happens. When you're dreaming, the whole autonomic nervous system is still on. But then, as soon as you open your eyes, pag nagmata, then you drink coffee. And then your heart rate goes up, cortisol, the stress hormone goes up. And then, how many of you know so many people who drank so much coffee they can't go to sleep, so now they have to drink alcohol? That's the modern lifestyle. Across, it's not just Cebu, it's not just Manila. We're tapping into either extreme sympathetic fight or flight mechanisms or rest and digest. Para siyang nag-yo-yo yun, si Seesaw. We don't know how to balance out. So there actually are ways to combat that imbalance. But I would say most people are actually getting sick and are experiencing debilitating disease because of an imbalance with the autonomic nervous system. And I'll explain that more with you later on, both in the short and the long term. So that's the first principle that I wanted to start with, because this is that's our mechanism. Do you understand how dream works then? It's actually that simple. what you would need to do is to allow the stimulant and the depressant to work all at the same time, like simultaneously. When you were a baby, you were actually dreaming the whole time. The time of your life that you were the most dreamer was the last week when you were in the mother's womb. You were sleeping 95% of the time, and 95% of the time you were dreaming. Now, when you're dreaming, you're using about 90% of your whole brain. When you wake up, you're using 3%. Do you see the problem? You're not tapping into your power station, your battery. So that's what people are. They're like laptops, cell phones, they're low bat. And we don't know how to recharge properly. So do you see how valuable REM state is? Why it's actually the key. It's not something that you need to learn because you already knew it since the beginning. You just have to remember it. Okay, so where do we go from here? Okay, let's look at this. This could be like an interesting platform. So this is the brain, and a lot of people think like I have a brain. That's not true, right? You have two. You have two brains. When you zoom in, you actually have two. They're separate. No? So one of the main problems that we need to work out is human beings have contralateralized the two hemispheres of the brain. So when you went to school, when you learned language, for example, or something very logical, or mathematics, you were using the left hemisphere of the brain. And when you listen to music, when you listen to poetry, when you prayed, you're using the right side of the brain. So for those who really learn to become business people, do well in school, you might be doing well, but at the same time, you had to separate the two hemispheres. And that's not actually always good, because there's so much resources that the right brain normally can tap into that the left brain cannot. In other words, when we become too left-brained, we tend to hide a lot of information. We tend to control. It's like the things that I don't want to see, I'm not going to look at it. I don't want to talk, that's the job of the left brain, because it's very controlling. It's very much like the over-planner, the worrying. Hindi mo siya ma-off di ba? Like, it's like a loop. Like every night, you're still thinking the same thoughts. You have this anger. A lot of it happens because of the linearization that happens in the left hemisphere of the brain. So that when you go to sleep, you can actually wake up the right brain, the right hemisphere of the brain. To be honest with you, if you woke up the right brain, while you're awake, you would go crazy. Because there's just so much information there. A lot of people aren't able to handle that. It's too much truth. It's like this overwhelming emotion. You have to train yourself to be able to handle what, let's say, Jose Rizal can handle, or one of the saints, or the geniuses. Why are they able to manage a greater brain capacity? It's because the Filipinos are especially quite conservative. We're shy. We're mahiyain. We're used to being small, and we can't entirely use our thinking well. We can't think properly. We can't feel properly. Hi. Welcome. So this is what we're doing. When we go into sleep, and then when you go into non-REM 1 and 2 and 3, this is the subcortical regions of the brain. This is what happens. You start to fire it up. So this is called the corpus callosum. I think that's one of the most beautiful words in the English language. Say corpus callosum. Corpus callosum. So can you see what it does? It allows the two hemispheres to meet. That which is contralateralized and separate, it starts to talk to each other. You can call it mommy and daddy, they're not talking to each other. The east and the west, hot and cold, they're not talking to each other. They both have different languages. in the dream state, that's when there's an understanding that occurs. The problem is if people are stressed, the corpus callosum doesn't actually turn on, and electricity doesn't pass through. So do you understand what I'm saying? When you're not going to REM state, you're still thinking about the day even while you're sleeping. That happens when cortisol levels are overabundant in the body. You have so many problems while you were at work. So a lot of people, they belittle the problems of the day, but it actually affects you. If you don't have an effective, healthy release system, you're not eating properly, you're not exercising well, because you don't have time. There's no time to process. There's so many problems to do with money, with the kids. We think these helped us, but there's so many things that we can do with them that we're now stacked with so many to-do things in a single day, and we can't really complete that list. So I think the human being is more left-brained than ever before. So this electrical pathway is not streaming or transmitting energy anymore. And that's the reason why younger people are getting so sick right now, super early, in a way that's so unnatural. So do you see why sleep is so important? But not just sleep, it's REM sleep. You can sleep for a long time and not actually access REM that much. Do you know bangungot?
Yeah.
What is that? Like when you wake up and you are paralyzed, right? Bangungot happens when you awaken and you are still pretty much here on non-REM 3, which is called slow wave sleep. So the role of non-REM 3 is to prepare you for dreaming. So you look at the stage right here where it gets messy. That means delta, theta, mu, alpha, beta, gamma are now streaming energy all at the same time. Okay, delta is super relaxed, super meditative, super peaceful. You know, like I'm surrendering to the depths of the universe. Gamma would be hyper consciousness. It's like the ability to perceive any information. You can make connections all over the place. The reason why you dream is actually to raise your vibration. It's to raise the frequency, and that's where you're striving to achieve gamma state. There's even higher than gamma state. It's called high oscillating frequencies. Now, when you wake up, mawawala yun. You will lose the high frequencies and the low frequencies. This is where you go. This is called beta consciousness. This is called coffee. This is called, okay, I have to take care of my whatever we need.
To-do list.
Your to-do list. This is the to-do list. If you don't actually have beta while you're awake, you'll experience ADD or ADHD. Because you'll start to slip down to theta state. Children are okay with theta energy, but when adults grow up, you have a hard time paying attention. So you need to train yourself, like in a way. So you can achieve a lot of amazing things when you're experiencing beta consciousness, but you're losing the super high vibrations that actually heals you, that increases your metabolism and your immunity. So people who are overworked, because they don't have a choice, when you go to sleep, you're still in beta. You understand what I'm saying? You're not going to gamma. Here's the technology of REM. REM state is, it's very paradoxical. It's crazy. For you to experience high, you need to have low energies at the same time. And then everything in between will start to show up. Okay, tingnan mo tayo. In N1, N2, non-REM 1 is when you start to go to sleep muna. And actually, when you're starting to go to sleep, you're not yet sleeping, even though you're sleeping. You're still thinking of the things of the day. And then non-REM 2 is when you start tossing and turning. You know, when you're sleeping with someone, they start moving around. Malikot. That's non-REM 2. Now, non-REM 3 is when you will institute paralysis because it's very hard to be moving while you're dreaming. It's dangerous. if you're gonna enact your dreams, no? So you need to cut the activations of most of the brain to the motor cortex. The motor function should not be on because it's gonna be weird if you're sleepwalking. So non-REM 3 is when you go down. That's the closest you will go to death. And that's when you totally surrender. You're in delta state. Delta is the slowest wave that there is. And see what happens here. After non-REM 3, may lulutang na ano. They call it paradoxical sleep in REM state because you wake up. The only reason why you're sleeping is to wake up the highest frequencies. Do you see what I mean? When you wake up, you have to lower that so you can take care of the kids. You can go to work. You can make money. You can pay the taxes. You can, But when you go to bed and you go into the dream, you're not normal anymore. Either you're a superhero, you're having a nightmare, you're seeing things that you didn't want to see because now your brain is actually truly turned on. Do you see the paradox here? People think sleeping is to turn off, baliktad. You actually turn on. There's a greater amount of activity that turns on while you're sleeping. Do you see why I'm so excited about this? I think that we're sleeping so much, and then there's so much that we need to do. But I'm finding out, working with people from Europe, across Asia, across the Americas, you can get things done while you're sleeping. You know what I would even do sometimes while sleeping? I would put on a foreign language course while I'm sleeping. I'm wondering, can I learn while I'm sleeping? What are the things? I'm actually working while I'm sleeping, and I feel so good when I wake up. Why would you not use that when your brain is superpowered? No? You can heal, you can advance, you can evolve, you can transform while you're sleeping. And I think that's where the sleep paths are coming from across the world. So I'm defining to you what dream is. For you, it's not just figurative anymore. There's an actual, literal meaning that's biological, that's based on circuitry, and based on chemistry. So let me maybe pull out, I think I used this for, it's super messy. Anyway, I used it for a call last night, so it's messy. Oh. But anyway, let's use it. These are the sleep cycles, right? So most of you probably sleep around 8 hours a day. That's what you're supposed to do. I don't sleep 8 hours a day because I can do something that some people cannot do. Now notice here, now that you know about non-REM 3, remember non-REM 3 is when you drop down to delta, right? The bangungot stage. Now notice in the first hour of sleep, you experience that. On the third hour of sleep, you still go into non-REM 3, but on the fifth hour, you don't need it as much anymore. And then here, you don't need it as much anymore because you're already holding the slow, relaxed, surrender, I give up, I'm okay, everything is good. The tension is gone. So, in REM state sa hour 2, you can see it's happening, but it's short. And then it starts to get longer and longer, and around this time of the day, that's when it's the longest. Who wakes up at about 3 o'clock in the morning sometimes?
That's the time.
Okay, that's actually the most spiritual time of the day. Do you know why?
Why?
That's when melatonin levels are the highest, based on the biological clock. And when melatonin levels are high, that's when you're the most dreaming. Do you know the power of dreams? Like, let's name the geniuses of the world. Albert Einstein, for example. You know what he would do? He would be like, okay, I need to understand the secrets of the universe. I can't access it with my left brain. So what he would do is he'd get a metallic object, like a fork. And then he'd get like a metallic big object, like a plate. And then he would just be like this. And then, aantokin siya. He's going to get sleepy. And as he gets sleepy, when he goes into non-REM 1, non-REM 2, baka he still is able to hold the pen. But there are some cases where he actually drops the fork, and the fork hits the plate, and it makes a loud sound. He wakes up, and then he has to answer. You see what I mean? He's tapping into the genius that's belonging to 3 o'clock in the morning. So if you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, don't resist. That's when the answers to your problems are actually hiding. First and foremost, keep a notebook beside you. So that any time of the day you wake up, if you remember your dream, write it down. It might make sense to you next month, next year, or the next day. But if you don't write it down, I promise you, at 9 o'clock in the morning, you don't even remember that you dreamed anything. Because you went back into beta, cortisol, left brain. Right? So why are you not using the greatest gift? Be like Einstein. Leonardo da Vinci did the same. Ben Franklin did the same. These are the greatest minds in history. So, why are they not teaching this in schools? Or why are parents not aware of this? So what I found out when I used the technology that we're using now, they're called the sleep playlists. I found out that we can actually lengthen REM during the early hours of sleep. Ito, ano siya, mahaba. Let's choose like another color so we can get it out. Please decide. You can notice REM is longer here. So what I realized is we can actually pull in longer REM in the early hours of night, at the onset of sleep. And I realized that can actually heal a lot of the sicknesses that people have been going through. We've had some really interesting stories. I had a scary experience once when someone that I trained in Belgium was working with a family whose son was in the spectrum. He had autism. Now, autistics are very sensitive. They're very intense. So the first night that the parents used the sleep playlist, the boy actually grabbed the knife and said he was going to kill himself and his brother. So I'm like, okay, I've never heard that before. Is that okay? The parents asked the facilitator, is that okay? And then they asked me, is this okay? What do we do now? Do we still keep doing it? And I said, it's up to you. You listen to your heart and your intuition. The parents did it. Tinuloy nila. A week later, this autistic boy who's never shown any emotion in his entire life went up to his mom, hugged her, and he said, I love you so much. Started to ask for the sleep playlist every single night. And next thing you know, when he was failing in school, he started to climb up and up and up, and now he's one of the smartest boys in his class. So there's so much sensitivity in children when we're losing the potency, the increased capacity, because, I mean, I don't know if you really loved school when you went to school, but it's not easy to wake up when your melatonin levels are still up there and you're having to brush your teeth, have breakfast, ride a school bus, or whatever you had to ride to go to school. She's looking at her son. It was hard. You know, you really lose contact with you can call it your soul, but it's also a brain state. So, I'll be honest with you, I don't know how many schools in Belgium are actually using this playlist right now. And they're not using it at night, they're using it in class, they're using it they're realizing that the children can focus more with a background of noise because there's 97% of the brain is not shutting down as it normally would. So now, what are the models out there? We actually were able to bring in this system into DepEd Palawan, where we are now constructing the curriculum within the province. Within the MAPES studies, we're building a classroom made of plastic, waste, and mud. And inside that classroom, we're the only school in the Philippines that brought in the EEGs. We have electroencephalograms where children listening to music, doing art, reading, writing, they can see their own brain waves. while they're learning. We're literally teaching them neurology. I'm talking about grade 6, grade 7 in a super rural area in the Philippines, and they're learning neurology in real time. They're learning what part of the brain in which frequency activates when I do this. And let me give you an example. No? This example is literally like this is 10 minutes of listening to sound. I want to show you here.
Do you have that subtitles?
No, it's okay. We can understand Tagalog.
There's subtitles or not?
I don't have subtitles. 10 minutes of listening to a sound that we just played with some apps where we mix certain sounds together. We didn't even know we were gonna do this. Like she was there. And, okay, let's.
Nararamdaman ko, nasa Gords ako, nasa malayo ako, na nag-iisa lang ako. Nakita ko may imapin sa akin na tao, pinakita niya sa akin yung ganda ng paligid at ng forest, pinakita niya sa akin yung paano nagsasaya.
So yeah, like every single kid, they saw a color, they saw the forest, they went to. Oh, nice. Thank you. But this is one in this video, and we have so many documentations, but we haven't sorted it out. They didn't even know what it was, but their hearts are just so open. It's so beautiful and amazing. I don't.
Wala.
It's okay. It's okay.
So this is after listening to the music for 10 minutes? Is
Yeah.
the feedback you're receiving?
Yeah.
So we ask them always, the kids stay up or sit down
No.
or then they lay down. So like yesterday we had a class with them about brain science and nervous system, and then we just put 10 minutes music. So there's theory, but then they experience something. So if there's any information, and they felt things, they said, oh, I feel things in my hand, or I felt my friend's head getting hot. So they actually get some kind of experience, which then is a very different type of learning than just listening to theory. So we usually put them just 10 to 15 minutes to experience sound, and then ask them what happened, and then we're ourselves like, what? Whoa.
Because it's such a short
It's
time.
very short.
It takes like Westerners like hours to get activated, and these Filipino kids, they're like Harry Potters. Or,
So your 10-minute track was already having.
Yeah.
You had.
Yeah.
more than the feedbacks you were even hearing
And it
about
might be
them.
just a app with sounds, not songs or like not 2-minute sound, just even background like noise or app.
You sent me
The noise app.
I want to share this, girl. I'll translate it because it's so amazing.
Yung pagkahiga ko, di ba parang kanina sa pagkahiga ko biglang kapag
So as soon as she lay down, her back pain just went away.
pagpikit ko, bigla parang may nakita ko yung sarili ko nasa stage, holding a microphone.
When I closed my eyes, I suddenly saw myself in a stage holding a microphone.
Yes. Then, parang nakapikit, nakapatay lahat ng ilaw doon. Tapos maraming tao, nakikita ko lang yung shadow nila.
All the lights were closed, and all I could see were silhouettes and shadows of the people.
Then nakita ko yun, parang nakatutos ako yung spotlight.
The spotlight was on me.
At may spotlight pa sa, sa harap. In front of me, my mother that died 10 years ago. Smiling. Then, parang, ang overwhelming niya sa akin. Hindi ko na ma-describe kung ano yun.
She said she saw her dead mother looking at her, fully proud. The kids aren't able to process their emotions. They're not able to understand what the past means in relation to the present and the future. And they were just waiting for the opportunity to be granted the chance to see what's already inside. Do you see the power that music can actually hold? So it's, all I'm doing now that I've explained to you how REM state works, we're mimicking the non-REM 1, 2, 3, and then we're holding the low and the high at the same time. They're able to relax, but they're able to hold the highest frequencies without explanation. Like, we didn't even explain so much. They didn't know what this is supposed to do. The teacher told them, you need to go to that classroom right now. There's some weird people there to help to hold the class today. So because of the program in the Philippines, this is now being copied in Europe, in South America, in Singapore, in Germany. These are places, in Russia, these are places in the world that are normally very, very closed. And usually we're the ones who are open to being strange and being weird. Like Germany, Switzerland, France. Let me name you the projects right now. There's a research program in France where people are using the sleep playlist in dental clinics for pain management without anesthesia. Okay? This is about to change the mental health private sector in Colombia, where they're now about to teach the top mental health practitioners in Colombia. And they're applying it right now to numerous addiction centers and sexual trauma, right? I literally had a call last month with like I said, the National Health Institute of Singapore, the strictest health system in Asia, and they said, we want to try this out now based on everything that people are experiencing in Singapore right now for like 15 years. We brought it there. In Manila City Jail, we don't ask they're called PDLs. If you know PDL, like persons deprived of liberty. So they don't sit down. They're doing art. The prisoners. You're talking about people who did rape, murder, so on and so forth. So we put the music in the background without much explanation. They're drawing and they're crying, and they're processing the things that they didn't want to look at. It's coming into visibility, and then when they talk in a circle, they're like, wow, like now they can't live without it, because you know how tight the jail system is in the Philippines. Now, we got an offer from Iwahit Penal Colony. It's technically the biggest prison system by landmass in the Philippines, but the Muntinlupa, believe it, prisoners, 20,000 of them will be shipped to Palawan, and they want us to recreate the program that we're doing in depth ed there, because they can see the efficacy of this. And because of that, we had just gotten word that we received funding from the UK prison system. They're now applying it in Scotland. Someone's introducing it to the Belgian EU prison system that could scatter throughout the whole European Union. All of this is Filipino. I want you to understand that we were able to systematize. We're allowing people to dream again. And now this is not just happening in the spiritual circles, it's in the institutions. We have a group that's designing how this can enter companies in France, in Switzerland, in Germany, and where else? So the main projects would be the medical system. We're working with the doctors in Europe, in Asia. The jail system is very exciting. They seem to understand the power this has. What else? Addiction clinics in the US, in South America, and schools. I can't count how many schools are now applying this. This only started this year and late last year. We were not seeing this mad rush to explore this because we did not have the explanation until about 2.5 to 3 years ago when we started to travel and share a lot of the notes that we had taken so much time to put in. Is that all? With the examples? Yeah, psychiatric systems. So I hope you at least get where we're coming from. We've been really busy. We actually haven't had time to work within the Philippine system. I didn't want to do it if it was going to be premature because the notes were not complete. But I feel that we know enough right now in order to be able to share this with you so that we're coming from pure benevolence. This for us is not a business model. We want to help Filipinos. So I want to explain why and how in the most exact and minute way possible. And this has some complexity. Bear with me. I hope you're interested. No, not that one. Ay, sorry, no. Okay, so yeah, that's previous. Wala. I think it's not charged. The pencil is 0%. It's quite fast to charge. If you want a complex explanation, now that I've given the simple, it's easy to bring these amazing experiences to students, to people in jails, but the changes may not actually be long term. You can change the circuitries in the brain, but it's usually fast acting, but not long term. It's short term. Do you want to know what creates long-term changes in the being? It's the endocrine system. It's the endocrine system. So when we start talking about the thyroid, the thymus, the adrenal gland, the pituitary, so it took us a long time to find out how to affect the endocrine system and not just the autonomic nervous system. So there's a very, very small part of the brain. Because I don't have the pad, and this is go here. It's not actually, I don't know why they didn't put it here. It's one of the important subcortical regions, but it would be somewhere here above the thalamus, and it's called the hypothalamus. And maybe you've heard of it, maybe not. But I want you to understand why it's important. It's the bridge. It's the bridge between the nervous system and the endocrine system. Now, why is the endocrine system important? You know what the adrenal gland does, adrenaline, energy. The thymus is the endocrine gland behind the heart. That's responsible for immunity. Okay? Thyroid. Does anyone know what thyroid does? It's responsible for metabolism. Okay? We talked about the pineal gland. It's responsible for the sleep-wake cycle. The reproductive system, women and men, it's still important. It's called the gonads, the testes, and the uterus. There's one part of the brain that controls all of those. Immunity, metabolism, autonomic nervous system, reproduction, digestion. It's called the hypothalamus. And you know what? The hypothalamus is very sensitive to music. If you can affect the hypothalamus, you can affect everything. Now, but here's the problem. The hypothalamus is connected to most of the brain regions and the rest of the body. It's connected to the heart, the lungs, and you know, it can control everything, but it also stores fear. So if people are holding on to emotions that they haven't processed, that's when you will lose your REM state, because the hypothalamus manages your REM state. If you're holding on to tension that you're not able to process, everything would go down, immunity, metabolism, and so on and so forth. That's why I think this has been working. I think we are allowing the hypothalamus to go back to its natural condition. It's very complex. It has all these zones. The arcuate nucleus, the paraventricular nucleus, the supraoptic nucleus. The suprachiasmatic nucleus is one. That's the one that regulates the pineal gland. So even though it's so small, everything that is in control of you, which is the autonomic nervous system, it's mapped there. Can you see the beauty there? You don't actually need to heal your whole body. You just heal the one thing that's controlling your whole system. Everything else will regulate. I think that's the reason why doctors see sometimes miracles happening in some patients. It's because they can co-activate the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the dream state. When do you co-activate the sympathetic and the parasympathetic? When are the moments when the sympathetic and parasympathetic co-activate? Let me list them down to you. Natural birth. When a mother is able to let go of the child at the moment of birth, that's a co-activation. Let me show you the birth of my daughter. Maybe some of you know about this. Now, for many women, one of the worst fears has to do with giving birth to a child naturally. My son was the first water birth in the Philippines. My daughter was the first lotus birth. I don't have a video of my son's birth, but I can at least show you my daughter's. This is with my ex-partner. Now, we didn't need a doctor or even a doula or a midwife. I was the midwife. The only thing we spent on was the plastic tub from Toy Kingdom, the plastic swimming pool. Now, the technique here is you cannot allow anyone in the room that's holding fear. The place needs to be a sanctum, it needs to be sacred, it needs to be in full trust. Do you know why trust? Do you know what allows the birthing process to happen? It's oxytocin. You know oxytocin, it's the hormone for love. But it's actually the hormone that's responsible for the uterine contractions. But you know what it's also responsible for? I only know the Tagalog word. It's called tiwala. It's called trust. If people have high cortisol, what you lose is trust. The belief system that everything's happening for a reason. I trust you. So if you're working on that problem where someone doesn't trust you, simple. Let their cortisol level up. Oxytocin levels go up, then their bodies will open. But women use it for childbirth so that when the second stage labor is not coming, what did they give? Pitocin. It's like synthesized oxytocin to allow the contractions to happen prematurely. So when my children were born, we didn't use anything except for music. And there was absolutely no pain. And you will see that momentarily. So just look at the here, because you might miss it. Let me describe to you the technology, if you're interested. No? The parasympathetic nervous system of the mother needs to be activated, meaning she needs to be relaxed so that the contractions can occur. But the sympathetic nervous system of the baby needs to be high. What happened was a Western doctor decided to take the power away from the female and ask the mother to lay down while giving birth. The most painful experience of giving birth is to lay down. You don't see animals doing that. You need control of your spine. The spine needs to make a certain spiraling motion so that the baby's spine will follow suit. You saw it there. There's no push. Anytime you see that in the movie, you need to push. It's because the doctor has the power. The masculine, especially white man doctor is disempowering the woman by letting her lose control of her autonomic nervous system. But can you see how easy it is? Do you see pain there? She was in total control. The mother's in total control. So she's still in the pool because she needs to give birth again to the placenta. Now, according to the native Filipino, the placenta is actually the spiritual twin. So you may not know it, but there's a delayed cord clamping law that exists in the Philippines that you may not find in many other countries. You're not actually supposed to cut the umbilical cord within an hour because that's where the food, the nutrients, that's where the air, the waste passes through. So when you cut that right away, you cut off the source. So the new way of birthing now is you don't actually even cut the umbilical cord until it falls away. So the baby's attached to the placenta for 3 days, or 2 days. My daughter was the first lotus birth in the Philippines. So that's the placenta. You know what the tribal Filipino would do? They would bury the placenta where they think the child would die because they want them to be rooted back on the earth. This is the placenta. So it's still attached. You can see the baby. It's just so vital, so dynamic. If you want to heal anyone, you may as well start from the beginning, where there's no trauma. Then they'll never get cancer because they don't have the So we train so many mothers to use just sound. Sound is the water. Sound is the environment in which the baby wants to be born into. You notice who has kids? You notice when they were so young and then there's noise, they actually fall asleep. Maybe you didn't. But what mothers do is they play white noise to the baby and then they just fall asleep, like in the car or when there's loud traffic. And maybe because you didn't bring the baby out, that's when the baby stops crying. But when it's quiet, that's when the baby starts crying. So when you bring them into the world and the environment is matching their brain state, they're at peace. We try to clean up the mind of the baby, but actually they were dreaming. Okay, so that's one example of a simultaneous co-activation of the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. One main example that's emerging right now is coming out of research, but it's a spiritual context. And that's called the life review that happens when you will die. Do you know what the life review is in the near-death experience? When your whole life will flash before your very eyes in one moment. Now, according to neuroscience research, not everyone actually experiences a life review. Only the ones who co-activate the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. Let me give you the example. Let's say you were in an accident, you're dying, so your heart is beating. You need the blood, you need the energy, you need the lymphocytes. You need to heal your body. So you're exuding so much terror and fear you don't want to die. But the moment you surrender, okay, I'm gonna die anyway. I give up. I love you, God and everything. When you co-activate those two systems, suddenly boom, you see your whole life flash before your eyes, which is like a dream. So it's going back to where you actually were when you originally were born. So you don't have to die in order to see your whole life flash before your eyes. You just need REM. You just need REM state. And you don't need to give that up. It could be during the day, while you're driving, it could be while you're sleeping, and then you wake up and you saw the whole thing. And then we're not scared anymore. Because it's not actually scary, it's just a brain state of being more complete, being more one. So like around the world, a lot of people are getting into this psychedelic have it? You know, like you probably heard of like ayahuasca or magic mushroom. Do you know why they do that? It's the same principle. What are the types of drugs? What are the categories? Not the category. What is cocaine? What category is that? That's an upper, which is a stimulant. Now, what's the other category? A downer. What is that called? Depressant. Right? Now, what is a psychedelic or hallucinant? What is it compared? It's actually a psychedelic is a depressant and a stimulant happening all at once.
In my generation, we call it hallucination.
Yeah, but I'm telling you that the category is actually it's both a stimulant and a depressant. So if you drink too much beer and too much coffee at the same time, you're gonna hallucinate. You could try doing that because you're experiencing the epinephrine, the cortisol. It's bringing you up, but at the same time, something's actually relaxing you and bringing you down. So in Europe and in the US, psychedelics assisted therapy has become one of the new medicines. And the work that we do is actually the next step because sound is not invasive. It doesn't poison the body. Do you see why people are studying this now? If you can affect the internal chemicals without needing the drug, without having to die or be born again, and you can do it every day, then it's simpler, right? That's the technology. You understand what I mean now about, and the other time there's a co-activation of the sympathetic and parasympathetic, a spiritual awakening. When you have an epiphany, when you have like an ecstasy, oneness with the universe, connection with God, you need to co-activate the high and the low. So it's spiritual, but it's also biological because we live in the body and God is in the body. But we're getting a formulation now of what it means to go back to the source. It's neuroscience as well. And that can be applied. That can be systematized in companies, in homes. So it's 9:14. I have a Zoom call with Ibiza Spin, 1:00 a.m. So I would like to open the space for questions, ideas, resonance. What do you guys think? Tony.
I'm curious, have you had any collaboration since it's known to go all over the world with actual sleep medicine doctors who do the EEG
Yes,
sleep study?
yeah. They're helping me to.
I think that'd be fascinating to see what really is going on.
They're helping me to formulate research programs now. I'm actually overwhelmed. I don't know their language, but they don't know our language. So we're now like coming together. In September, October, we're going to London to the castle of Henry VIII because there's going to be a spirit science conference where the scientists, the companies, and the healers are all going to like talk to each other. We didn't want to travel, but we have to go, and we go to Colombia to observe all the really weird things happening there. So I'm happy for you to catch up with where we've actually been.
It's fascinating for me because all the stuff you used to be babbling about 10 years ago, I'm like, oh, it all makes better sense now. For sure.
So all of our trainings are based on this now. We don't get people to experience anything dream-wise or whatever without having a map to navigate. Like an instruction manual, like what are you? You are waves, you're frequencies.
So can you tell us about what's going to be happening in the program here? You said that...
Okay, let's end with that. Yes.
Since this is an external stimuli
Yes.
to heal yourself,
Yes.
Are there any issues with dependence or?
That's a really good question. All right. So it's a beautiful question. It's profound. Why do we even need to do this if we already have the internal mechanisms, right? The problem is the programming or the conditioning. If the autonomic nervous system controls us, what is controlling the autonomic nervous system? Do you know what that is? It's trauma. It's all the threats that you experience as a child, so that when you are triggered in a way that's fear-based, and I work with him, so I know a lot of Cebuanos are quite conservative. That's a nice word I'm going to say. There's a lot of fear in our culture. The autonomic nervous system controls our response mechanisms. It could be rewards or stress. So one of the things that we're doing is we're allowing people to respond or react to things that they used to be scared of without being afraid. And a program could last for days, weeks. I don't think it needs to be too long. But if people wanted to gain their heart back, the less invasive way is to do it in sleep first. Do it in sleep first. Do it in a way that your subconscious or your subliminal state can show you messages that are surprising. Okay? Here's one scientific support mechanism. When you go to REM state, there actually aren't too many hormones and neurotransmitters that are turned off. There's only two. There's only the noradrenaline, which is supposed to be for fighting. You don't need that when you're dreaming, right? The second is serotonin. Who knows serotonin? Serotonin is like happiness, satiation, but it's actually also responsible for attachment. It's for bonding, attachment. So when you're dreaming, you cannot be attached because the synaptic connections need to travel really far for you to be able to make connections. When you're attached, you're not going to go far because you're attaching. I don't want to look at that. I want it to be just what I want it to be. So serotonin needs to go down during REM state so that we can see the unlikely connections that allow us to maybe find solutions to the problems. And normally, in a spiritual context, the problems actually hide the solutions. The actual solutions are the problems and stuff. You're just not looking at it properly. In REM state, you receive angles of vision that you may not have ever. Who remembers their dreams? There are even different dream types. Sometimes there's many dreams, one after the other. That's called dream displacement. Sometimes there's a one dream that's persisting. So that actually can be mapped out within a grid-like setting. It's actually a Russian philosophy that helps us to understand that. It's structuralism of the dream state. It's so integrated, in fact. So who asked about the program? You did. But yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
I observe my body aging.
Mm.
Knees are aging, feet are aging, skin is aging. Is the brain cycle affected by age?
Yes. I mean, I guess.
Do you have any study or programs for it?
I guess we're talking about neuroplasticity, no? The brain's ability to reshape and reform itself, which through age isn't as much as it used to be. But because I know you, and you are quite open, like childlike, as much as you would like, because you are giving up, you're a pilgrim. I actually think that as you age, the more resources you have.
The more?
Resources you have access to. But it just needs some support. And maybe the support can be minimally external, but internally maybe a lot of it is there. So
interesting.
Let's give it a try. Let's journey into this. That's why I'm here. I want to see if Cebu.
Interesting to figure that out because you see that.
Okay, so here's the program. We're a team with Dr. Romy. Dr. Renan Acosta is a neuroscientist in Manila. Italy. Christina from Mallorca in Spain now lives with us. She will be coming in and out as well. I'll be here. There might be more people around the world, but the lead for the program is Grazielli. Or Berman. She's been through, we trust her because she went the deepest. In the world, she might have gone the deepest. She literally became a baby for about a year or two. While living with us in Maya, she became a universe. She's very humble. She's very small, but she systematized the science and the spirit in a way that, so she will be coming to Cebu. She will be your lead person. She's going to be the dream coach. If we work with companies, with clinics, it's Gura. And she entered through Wellnessland as a volunteer, sent her to us. Like, we didn't know what this was. It was like a person that was actually an energy. Now she had grounded. So, for those who are interested, kindly leave your contact with Wellnessland.
There's a sheet there that you can leave your email, your number,
And then Gra will write you automatically.
your WhatsApp number.
What are the things that are planned?
There will be a 2-month sleep research study program where there will be online meetings. If you want to attend one night, 2-day training in the Wellnessland farm, it will happen in May.
Around, either last week of
It will happen in May, but once we start, it needs to start as a group because we will all gather everyone's data. And then that will be the first research study to have emerged in the Philippines around
The
this.
first Saturday, Sunday of June.
That's it. The cost is about 7,000 pesos for 2 months. And that entails the facilitator, all the logistics that it will take to run this whole thing. I don't think that's a lot considering what people actually pay for the trainings is 30 times more in some countries, 10 times more in some countries, and 20 times more. So we will be using this as an entry point for you to receive the actual training that happens in the weight-based structure where people learn how to heal other people in the most powerful way. But our entry point will be sleep because that's not invasive. It can be applicable. You can bring it to religious, educational, medical systems, and there's no resistance because the science is solid. It's very, very solid, and it's up to you how much you would like to take in. You can take in as much as you want. It's a lot of information that will be streaming in, and it's just nice to be able to do it as a group. So
basically, people are having access to the playlists.
Yes.
And then they're journeying in their own homes while they sleep.
Yeah. Wellnessland staff can be sponsored for any Wellnessland connected staff. But if they want, because they were here, we sponsor them.
And then there's a support system to actually write down and
Yes.
discover what happens by time during. It's like a laboratory and exploratory of 2 months.
Is that going to be like web-based?
Online.
But she will come.
Yeah, I'm saying
Also,
it's
yeah.
to be able,
Stay
to
with
but
you.
be
then
able to
you're
get
talking about the 2-month online.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will be quite intensive, but the work will happen when you're sleeping.
Yeah.
And then you have to report your changes. You will be given
And all these sections.
research forms, and there will be before and after in terms of your mood, your REM state. Does anyone have a smartwatch? So yeah, you can even get like a Xiaomi, which is only 2,000 or something like that. You can track your own REM state. So you will become a scientist basically through this.
Just a follow-up question. Since I overheard your partner saying that we will be listening to a playlist,
Yes.
has there been any evidence of it interfering with other types of playlists? For example, I work and study. I listen to ADHD playlist to calm it down. Would it negatively affect, or would it have any?
I think the variables are too many to isolate right now. So I think you need to listen to your intuition. What you can do is maybe when you write him, like Gra, she can give you information so you can make a better decision. But there's been no harm at all. There's always been like interesting things. Now, to be honest, maybe you wake up in the middle of the night and you're dealing with something. It's part of the thing. This is not going to be necessarily like super duper easy. But maybe sometimes you have to look at something when it's there. So that might occur. I'll just be honest with you. But most people who have been trying it, they just simply go there. And their sleep just goes so deep that, But we're getting so many dream reports, and it means REM state is just getting longer. But we would like qualitative and quantitative data. So you will be part of this. You will be part of a really big set of analyses that will be looked at by people from all around the world. You're going to be gifting this for the Filipino people and the world. So, any other questions?
I thought we're listening to some music today, since you were talking about it.
You'll receive the music as well soon. When you write to us, and we'll give you access.
So what's the shortest time for the playlist?
We have a 30-minute version, a 1-hour version, a 2-hour, and a 3-hour. And then right now we have about 3 or 4 different tracks that got constructed over a span of 2 years. So it's a long work in progress, but I think we're finally here. So yeah, great. So, thank you. Perfect.
137.
Do you have a present? Thank you. So we'll get you. Yeah, okay.